What it is, YouTube? It's your boy Ray here, and I just wanted to get on here and give y'all a trucking update, man, because I know it's been a real hot minute since I uploaded a video on my channel. It's been at this point, it's probably been almost a year at least. And to be real with you, it hadn't even been for any good reason at all. Really, I just wasn't making time for content. It just outdoing me, and wasn't really making time for content. Um, to be real with you, I just wasn't even focused. Wasn't really even focused on content. To be honest with you, had things going on in my life that I needed to figure out and get done, and that was a big distraction for me, to be honest with you. So I had been like recording content, not uploading it, and by the time you look around, it's 6 weeks later, a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, and I hadn't even uploaded the video. So that's the main reason I stopped recording, because it was no need of me recording this content and not uploading it, recording content and not uploading it. And by being inconsistent, it was gonna be hard for my subscribers to really follow what's going on or whatever. But anyway, I just want to get on here and give y'all a quick trucking update, guys, about what's been going on with me this past, year or so that I haven't been uploading. Everything, same thing, same, shit, different day pretty much. Still out here with TMC. Ooh, let me clean this camera off, man. All right, sorry about that, guys. That camera is disgusting. But, yeah, I'm still out here trucking, same thing as usual. Over this past year or so, though, I've definitely gained a lot of experience. Seen a lot, been a lot of places, and that's pretty much it. It's been about I've been with the company about a year and a half. I'm going into my second year now here soon, and overall I'm still enjoying it. That's what I'm saying. I'm still enjoying it. Had to check and make sure my tire wasn't flat, but I'm still enjoying it. Like, to be honest with you, one thing I can say about it is I actually like my job. You have its ups and its downs and its pros and its cons like anything else. But overall, I really enjoy my job. I don't wake up in the morning and be like, damn, man, I hate my life, I hate my job, I just want to be away from here. I don't get that feeling, when I'm out here trucking. And that's what I say. Like, there's so many bugs out there, I gotta get inside. But that's what I realized, like, since I've been out here, is that trucking is one of those things that you have to take some liking into it. Like, it's something you have to actually like about trucking to keep you driven in it, to keep you wanting to do it, to really enjoy it. Because if you just one of those people that get into trucking, get a CDL, get into trucking for the money, you're gonna get burned out real quick, because people that don't truck, they think oh, you just driving. But what people don't talk about is like driving hundreds of miles, hours and hours on end each day. That's a draining task within itself. And then on top of that, you're always away from home. You're always away from friends, you're always away from family, you spend a lot of time alone. So if you don't find something that you enjoy about trucking, or if you don't have any like real interest in it, you're gonna get burned out with it really quick, and you're not gonna be in it very long. But like I said, I really like my job. I like what I do, and there's not a morning that I wake up and like, man, I can't freaking hate this job now. Some mornings, just like any other job, you wake up tired, or sometimes, it might take you a little bit more some days to get started rather than others, or you might have to, find different ways to motivate yourself day in, day out, or week in and week out. But other than that, I really enjoy my job. I like what I do. I'm a person that I like being having a lot of time alone. Like, I don't like always being around a lot of people all day like that. I don't mind being around people, but just like all the time, 24/7, don't really care for it. As far as being like a typical 9 to 5 and like being in like an office setting, I've done that, but if I had to choose, I wouldn't do it. So the being to yourself part, I really like that. It allowed me to self-reflect. It allowed me to think. While I'm out here driving, I listen to podcasts. I find other little things that I can read, I can learn, and just other information, and take advantage of that time alone that I wouldn't be able to take advantage of if I was around people all day. And another thing that I like about it is just being out on the open road. There's something about just being out on the open road, especially like the mountains. It's something about that that's like refreshing to me. So that's another aspect of the job I like. And another aspect of the job I like is that you don't have like a manager over your shoulder. I'm still an employee. However, I don't have somebody looking over my shoulder every day, micromanaging me every day. With trucking, as long as once they send that load, as long as I'm at my delivery location on time, and as long as I'm on my drop off location on time, whatever I do in between that is on me. And I don't have anybody in a sense like kind of like dictating. Well, it is dictated when you go home, but it's not so much like a regular job where you're going to just punch in the clock and then like somebody might come up with these little extra unnecessary tasks that you need to do before you leave home. I mean, leave and go home or leave work for the day. It's not a whole bunch of like unnecessary stuff that I face in my day-to-day life while I'm out here on trucking. Well, I guess I could sum that up by saying my schedule or my routine is kind of so predictable when I'm out here on trucking, because it's the same thing every day. I got a load, pick it up, take it from point A to point B, get another load, take it from point A to point B, do that 5 times a week, 6 times a week, how many loads I'm running, and I'm going home for the weekend. So that's just a few of the things that I like about trucking, that I really enjoy. Recently though, probably about back in, what's this, June? So probably around like the middle of April, beginning of April, I did get another route that I'm running. So I'm still over the road, but I'm running a regional route now. So I don't run from state to state to state to state. Right now I'm only running between North Carolina and Virginia. That's it. And I'm not even running the whole North Carolina and Virginia. I'm just running like the eastern side of Virginia, and then I'm running like over in like the Charlotte and the surrounding areas of Charlotte. And I run the eastern side of Virginia and North Carolina, and then I also run over in the area surrounding Charlotte. So most of the time during the week now, running from like the Outer Banks in North Carolina up in that area back up to like over here near the beach in Virginia, back and forth down. Then I run over to Charlotte and drop something off and pick up a load out of Charlotte and bring it back up to Virginia. So I really like that route a lot better, because for one, it's the closest thing that I'm going to get to a local job, because with this new route, sometimes I make it home during the week and I'm making the same amount of money with the potential to make more as I was, over the road running from North Carolina to Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania to New York, or whatever the case may be. So when I was offered this opportunity back in April, I jumped on it real quick. When the fleet manager that called me about it, when he got in contact with me, he told me that there had been quite a few guys that had denied this route simply because of the money. I guess the guys that they had contacted before about it was thinking that they wasn't going to make as much money as they were over the road doing regular line haul. But when I asked him about it, I asked him a few details about it, about where I'll be running and will I be getting similar pay. And he kind of broke the route down to me a little bit and made me feel more confident about it. And the reason I ended up accepting it was because I thought about it from a business standpoint. I was like, well, people thinking they're not going to make as much money as they are running regular line haul. But I was like, to be honest, this is a company and they in the business to make money. So they not about to set this truck up for something. They're not about to set this truck up for failure. If I felt that, and I could be wrong, but I believe that they're not about to put this truck in a position to make less money than its max potential. They're not going to take this truck from line haul and move it over here to a regional dedicated route when it's projected to make less money. So that's one of the reasons I took it. And then the other details that he was giving me about this route that I've been running, overall it was just a better play for me than running typical line haul, because like I said, for one, my schedule is a little bit more predictable because I'm only running between Virginia and North Carolina every week. Virginia and North Carolina. 2, I'm making the same money and some weeks more than I was running more miles every week. And then 3, sometimes during the week, I'm making it home during the week. You know what I'm saying? I can make it home sometimes 2 or 3 or more times during the week, you know, depending on how close I am to the crib. And then 4, like I said, I'm not running as many miles, so it's less draining, you know. So that's just a few of the reasons why I took this new route, and I've been enjoying it for the most part. And like I said, I've been running this route since about April, and it's June now, so about 2 months I've been running this route. But all in all, guys, you know, everything's still been up to par. I'm still liking it. To be honest with you, though, I have been, before I got off of this original dedicated run that I'm doing now, I have been looking into a lot of local work. To be honest with you, I have been looking into a lot of local work. And the reason I hadn't went local is because that right opportunity never came through to me, and that was probably happening for a reason, you know. Because I applied to several local companies, and the issue that I was facing is some of the companies were non-responsive. Some of the companies didn't move forward my application for whatever reason, and some of the companies I just didn't meet the qualifications for. I know 2 of the companies that I applied for locally, they didn't move forward my application because I live too far from where the terminal is. One of them was telling me that they prefer that their drivers live 45 minutes or less from their terminal, I guess for safety purposes, you know, so that you won't have to be driving so far in your personal vehicle, you know, back and forth to work every day. And for that particular position, I lived an hour out, so that's why they didn't move forward my application. And the second local opportunity that I was looking for, well, that one was like a regional opportunity. But in so many words, the recruiter was telling me that they didn't move forward my application for the same reason, because I live too far from their terminal. And then a lot of the other local opportunity, guys, it just wasn't, you know, matching my liking. Because I'm the type person that I'm not gonna just company hop or seat hop or move, you know, just to be moving. I'm a person that don't like to move lateral. You know, if I make a move, I like to move up. You know, so I'm not gonna just take a job just to be taken, or just to say I moved on to another company, or just for the sake of being local. You know, I look at things from an all-around perspective. You know, I try to balance everything out before I make a move. So I'm not about to just move from one company to another company just because this company might be offering me 5 more cents per mile than my company is. You know, I look at a situation, I weigh it all out. I look at, you know, what the health insurance packages look like, what the history of the company is looking like. I try to connect or find other driver reviews about the company. You know, I try to get a little inside scope. I try to get as much information about whatever particular company that I'm going to apply for before I apply, to, you know, feel more confident about my move. And a lot of those companies that I was looking at, they just didn't make sense. You know, some of them had crazy hours, or some of them didn't have good enough benefits and things like that. So that's why I didn't move. I did, however, come across this one guy one day, though, while I was at the place that I park my truck at when I come home on weekends. And he's a small fleet guy. I think he's a small fleet guy. He has maybe about 2 or 3 trucks or whatever. And he offered me a local opportunity, and I considered it, you know, but in the end, I just ended up, you know, just letting him know that, hey, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to take that opportunity that you offered me, but I appreciate your offer, because he offered it to me in the way he led with money. You know, he was like, oh, I can pay you this amount a week. Well, like I said, I like to look at things from an all-around perspective, so I'm not about to just hop on your company just because you're telling me that you're going to pay me more money, you know. But through talking to this guy, he was just stalling, because I came across this guy in January, and he was like, hey, man, you know, I got this local opportunity. You'll be home every day, woody woo. I'll be able to pay you at least this X amount a week. And he was like, okay, but I probably won't be starting, you know, I'm working on this contract right now, and it probably won't be starting until almost the springtime. So I'm like, okay, cool, you know, just keep me updated. You know, weeks went by, and every so often, you know, he'll shoot me a text like, hey, you know, you still interested in the, you know, the opportunity or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you know. He was like, but every time he messaged me, there was no actual start date. It was just, I'm working on this contract, I'm working on this contract, I'm working on that contract. So that right there was like a red flag for me, because I'm like, before you offer a driver an opportunity, you need to already have your ducks in a row. So I didn't feel confident in taking the opportunity, because I'm like, okay, if you just unorganized with the recruiting or hiring process, what is it going to be like, if I was to start working for you? Are you really going to be able to pay me the money that you promised that you'll be able to pay me every week? Are your trucks in good running condition? How are you with breakdowns? Do you handle your business when it comes to breakdowns, or you going to have drivers sitting? Or do you really got these contracts in order, or am I going to come in to work one day and you be like, hey bro, I don't got no more work for you? So these are the type of things I look at before I make a move, because I'm not about to leave, for show, for that's something that's not so certain, or impossible. So around like March time, I ended up telling that guy that I wasn't gonna move forward with that opportunity, and I kept looking for local work, and nothing was coming through for me or working out for me. And then in April, this regional dedicated route came available for me, so I was like, bet, that's even cool. I got something that worked better for me for the moment, and I'm able to stick in house with the same company, because I really didn't want to leave this company, but I was just wanting to find something that worked better for me at the time. So all in all, things being pretty straight, guys. To be honest with you though, I'm still, I don't plan on leaving the company right now, but I'm kind of, eyeing other things. But the things that I'm kind of eyeing isn't related to trucking. If I move away from this company, 9 times out of 10, there's gonna be something else that's not related to trucking, and it's gonna be a bigger bag. Like the opportunity that I'm looking at, it's a bigger bag than what I'm making now, and there's not another trucking company. So, it is what it is. I like trucking, but at the same time, if I can find another opportunity that allows me to increase my earning potential, that's what I'm going to do, because at the end of the day, it's about a bag, and it's about, what's better for me. And the way I'm looking at it like that is because with the way the world is now, the cost of living steady changing, the cost of living steady rising, everything is going up around us. The only way to counter that is to increase your income. You can't sit around and gripe at trucking companies. Oh, trucking companies not paying enough, this person not paying enough. To solve for that problem, you have to make more money, So the things I'm looking at, and the opportunity that I'm looking at, I foresee it helping me reach the goals that I want for myself, in a sooner time frame than trucking can offer, because I'm making okay money right now, but the way the way the economy is, the way the cost of living continue to rise, eventually the amount of money that I make now, is not gonna get you as far. So I'm trying to be proactive rather than reactive. I'm trying to be on the offense and not the defense. But that's pretty much all I got for this vlog, guys. I really appreciate y'all for tapping in with me. I just stopped for the day probably about 40 minutes ago. So Home Depot. Well, I'm already at the Home Depot, but I got to drop this load off at this Home Depot in the morning. It's a little mixed load. I got some styrofoam and insulation right here. Got some lumber and some other stuff under this tarp right here. But that's what I'm about to do for the day, guys. I'm about to go ahead, get on off here, and I'm about to go ahead somewhere and get me something good to eat. I'm gonna kick back and relax for the night. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for watching this video. Till the next one, I'm out.